Welcome to this explainer. It's pretty wild to think about, but your brain only makes up what, maybe 2% of your body weight, yet it's burning through a massive 20% of your daily energy. Have you ever actually stopped to think about what your lunch is doing to your head? And actually, scratch that. I don't mean your stomach, I literally mean your brain. Every single time you bite, chew, and swallow, you aren't just curbing your appetite, you're directly feeding the absolute most complex, powerful organ in your whole body. The food on your plate, it has a direct, super long-lasting effect on your brain's daily performance, its physical architecture, and its chemistry. So today, we're going to decode exactly how the whole shebang works.
Why do you feel so incredibly tired right after lunch? You know, that familiar 2 o'clock slump where you're just struggling to keep your eyes open and focus on work? Or on the flip side, why are you sometimes so restless at night, just staring up at the ceiling when you really should be effortlessly recharging? Look, we've all been there, right? It's a completely universal daily struggle. But here's the thing, it's not a willpower issue. And the fix isn't just pounding another cup of coffee. It is a strict biological reaction to exactly what we're putting into our bodies. Today, we're going to solve this mystery by uncovering the hidden science of our food.
Okay, let's dive into this. To get a solid grip on our daily energy levels, we need to look at four key ingredients. Think of this as our recipe for the day. First, our building blocks, fatty acids. Second, messengers and serotonin. Third, the power of micronutrients. And finally, the impact of sugar. Let's get right to it.
Section 1. Building blocks, fatty acids. We're going to shift our focus right down to the actual physical hardware of your mind. And this brilliantly illustrates what fatty acids are all about. They're the crucial nutritional components that act as the physical architects of your brain. Now, when we talk about dietary fats out in the real world, they usually get a pretty bad rap, right? But for your brain health, they are absolutely essential. They are literally the guys out there building and maintaining the structural foundation of your brain cells. Without the right fatty acids, your brain physically cannot maintain its own architecture. They determine the integrity of your brain's cell walls, making sure they stay flexible and work the way they're supposed to. So when you're eating those healthy fats, you're quite literally handing your brain the premium construction materials it needs to build a stronger, more resilient physical structure.
Moving on to Section 2, messengers and serotonin. Okay, so we've covered the physical hardware. Now we need to look at the brain's chemical software. Think of your brain like a massive high-speed communication network. The signals zooming around in there to keep everything online are called neurotransmitters. These are your brain's chemical messengers, and they dictate everything: your mood, your daily energy, your overall cognitive function, the works. But here is the absolutely critical takeaway. Your brain doesn't just pull these messengers out of thin air. No way. It manufactures them directly based on what we consume. The complex compounds you get from your breakfast and lunch literally become the chemical words your brain cells use to talk to each other. So let's zoom in on a really famous one, serotonin. It acts as a super vital neurotransmitter that directly regulates your nighttime sleep patterns, and it heavily influences your daily mood and how restless you feel. Remember that opening question about feeling so restless at night? Well, here's your answer. If your diet is missing the raw nutritional materials needed to make adequate serotonin, your brain's chemical software just starts to glitch. You might feel anxious or irritable during the day, and then when night rolls around, the biological signals that are supposed to tell your body it's time to shut down simply aren't firing correctly. It's crazy to think about, but your diet is directly dictating your ability to find a restful peace.
Which brings us to the third vital player in our brain's complex ecosystem, Section 3, the power of micronutrients. You can really see a stark contrast here. On one side, we have a brain loaded with optimal micronutrients, enjoying this awesome sustained energy and heavily protected health, and on the other, a brain lacking them, left completely vulnerable to fatigue and wear. Micronutrients, so we're talking about things like antioxidants, essential vitamins, trace minerals, these are your ultimate protectors. They act like a defensive shield for your brain tissue, constantly bridging that gap between the microscopic biology inside your cells and the macroscopic reality of just how energetic you feel every day. When your diet is nutrient-dense, your brain's engine runs clean and protected, giving you that smooth, sustained energy. But skip those nutrients, and you're leaving your brain's machinery wide open to oxidative stress. And that leads to a deep, pervasive fatigue that literally no amount of sleep is going to fix.
But what happens when we throw a completely chaotic element into this finely tuned machine? Section 4. The impact of sugar. Sugar is basically the ultimate chaotic disruptor. It holds this immense, immediate power over both our cravings and our energy levels. When you eat refined, high-sugar foods, it doesn't just gently fuel the brain. it completely overwhelms the system. It hijacks those chemical messengers we talked about earlier and throws the entire delicate, well-protected balance of your brain into pure chaos.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it breaks down exactly how this biological reaction unfolds through the sugar cascade. Step 1 is ingestion. You eat that high-sugar food. Step 2 is the neurotransmitter spike. Your brain gets hit with a sudden, completely unstable burst of chemical signals. And yeah, it feels highly rewarding for a fleeting moment, but it's a totally artificial high that your brain cannot possibly sustain, which leads directly to step 3, the crash, that inevitable, steep drop in energy and cognitive function. This right here finally answers our other opening question. Why do you feel completely exhausted and foggy after lunch? Because you forced your brain through a volatile chemical spike, and now it is desperately trying to recover from the biological crash. Your brain's energy reserves have been completely depleted by the very food you ate hoping to gain energy.
So we've explored the physical architects, the chemical messengers, the vital protectors, and the chaotic disruptors, which leaves us with one incredibly important question. What will you feed your brain next? Every single time you sit down to eat, you have a distinct choice. You can build up your brain's hardware, carefully balance its chemical software, and protect it with vital nutrients. Or you can send it spiraling right into a chaotic crash. The science is entirely in your hands. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this empowers you to make your very next meal a masterpiece for your mind. Keep learning and take care of that brain.